Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session with Russell Stannard from the UK. He's joining us and he's going to be presenting on blended learning. Russell is a multi-award winner for education technology. He does some amazing work. He's also a teacher trainer. He's a consultant for education technology. We'll post a link to a blog post that we have all the details about him, but he's just all around a fantastic guy who's been helping teachers for a long time with education technology work. He also has a very popular YouTube channel, which I hope he mentions, which has lots of great materials that you guys will be able to use. So we're really excited to have Russell here presenting for us. I'm going to go ahead and let him take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Tammy. Lovely to be here, really lovely, because I know that this is your first online conference. And so I feel very honoured to be asked to come and do a presentation. And I was really pleased to see there in the chat window that someone had mentioned already that they follow my YouTube channel. So it means at least one of you in the audience knows who I am, which is lovely. Listen, guys, I'm going to try to make this a really interactive session. There will be a little bit of theory, but and a couple of ideas for you to think about. But I'm going to try my best to make this interactive. Can I just ask you, in the chat window, so that I can see, just tell me where you're sitting. Are you in the kitchen? Are you in the front room? Are you in your office? Are you in school? Are you in university? So we got a few bedrooms, we got a living room, we got a kitchen, we got a few kitchens, we got a few bedrooms. People in their bedroom today. Someone's sitting on the sofa. That sounds like a great place to be. Someone's in the bar. No, they're joking. They're not. We got a few in classroom. We got the bedroom seems a very popular place today for today's lesson or today's talk. The library, someone's in their office. Lovely. It's always a thing, isn't it, that we you know, when it comes to online teaching, we're not often sitting in the most conducive place for our learning. And we know that with the students when the parents walk in and out of the room. Sometimes you're teaching younger learners. I'm going to ask you one more question before I start. Can you just because I want to get a bit of an image of where you are, see if anyone's in a nice place with a good view. Can you just name two things that you can see in front of me? So one of them is I can see in front of me is this huge, great microphone that I've got on the screen. So that's one thing that's in front of me. And another thing that's in front of me is big lighting, because I've got like a little studio here. So can you just name for me two things that you can see in front of you? I just want to get a bit of an image of where you're sitting. Two things. So yeah. Are people not hearing? Right, okay, lovely. So it's coming up on the screen now. Great. Okay, so we got pictures, we got kitchen, we got accounting books, we got a guitar player. That's really good to hear. So that I'm another guitar player, though my guitar's not here. Anything else? What is sitting in front of you at the moment? We've got desktops. That doesn't sound too interesting. In concrete wall. Anyone got a nice? Someone's got a lake. That's what I was looking for. I was hoping to see a lake. Okay, that's good. Well, not to see it, but to hear about it. Anyway, okay, we've got a vase of flowers. That sounds nice. Someone's got their cat there. Someone's got their front yard. Okay, lovely. Okay, wonderful. Good. Gives me a bit of an image of where you are and what you're doing. Okay. It's been an interesting year and a half. I was listening to the talk before Ben's talk, and there's plenty of things there that I'm going to link into. I'm going to start by just getting a bit of a feel for you as a crowd. Now, I could do that by kind of doing it in the chat window, but I don't always like to use the chat window. Sometimes I really like to collect everyone's ideas together in one place. So I'm going to use a quick bit of technology to do this. And this technology that I'm going to use is free. And I'm just going to ask you, someone's got the cat, that's good to hear. This piece of technology that I'm going to use is really quickly grabs everybody's ideas in one place. I'm sure you've seen these technologies around, these kind of word clouds. I use it a lot when I'm teaching online, if I want to quickly grab everyone's ideas. But this particular one is quite nice. I sometimes even use it in class if my students have got mobile phones. It's great for vocabulary, if you want to brainstorm vocabulary, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick screen share. I'm going to be doing this a lot. I'm going to be screen sharing and taking you off to different technologies. I will get to the presentation as well, but we're going to start by doing a quick presentation. So I'm going to choose the window that I want to share. I don't need to share audio for this particular first activity. I'm going to click on the share button, and then I'm going to jump over to a technology I've got here called Answer Garden. And I'm just going to ask a question to you all. So Answer Garden's free. It's really nice, as I said, in a Zoom session or in a live session at the beginning. I use it a lot just to kind of change the focus. And I'm going to just ask you, let's do this like a vocabulary activity. So just say one word, say how you are feeling about this year. And I'm talking about this academic year, okay? So just one word. I'm looking for one word from you to say how you're feeling. Are you excited? Are you pessimistic, optimistic, worried, concerned? I'd be very interested in the word. Now, Answer Garden, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom, okay? I literally don't have to do anything. I just click on the create button and it actually creates a link for me. I'm going to write my answer in here. So I'm going to say I'm feeling positive, because I am. I think and that was quite a lot of Ben's message as well, that I think there's a lot to look forward to in terms of language teaching. One thing to say is that I do specialize in the use of technology in language teaching. So I'm just going to give you this link. I want to collect all the ideas together. I'm going to stop sharing and jump back to the AirMe, and in the chat window I'm just going to share that link with you guys, and you should be able to just click on that link. Hopefully, let me just put that in again. I'm just going to paste that link into. Does it accept links? That's interesting. Let me just check if that's going to come through. Does it? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, good. So I've just pasted it in again. Just click on that link and just write your idea. What's the word that's going to define you? I'm just going to click on the stop sharing because I'm not sharing at the moment. Okay, so not in the chat window, because I want to collect all your ideas together in one place rather than have them in the chat window. So that's the reason why I was just sharing the link. I'll do it once more. Okay, just place it into the, some of you have put it in the chat window because you put it in that, click on that link and put your answer in there. I want to collect all your answers in one place. I want to see if there's any particular themes that are emerging. Okay, so it's a nice way of kind of getting lots of ideas together really quickly onto the screen. And I'm going to have a quick look and see if you're doing that. So I'm just going to refresh the page. Let me have a little quick look. And wow, fantastic. I'm going to screen share this so you can get an idea of what this looks like and what we're kind of all feeling in this particular group. So, okay, let's have a quick look. So I'm going to click on present to audience. I'm going to screen share. I'm going to click again on screen share. I'm going to jump over and we're going to come to that answer garden. And this is what you've produced for me. And one lovely thing that I can say from this group is that one of the words that you're using there is hopeful, optimistic, excited, like it. But we got some other lovely words here: overwhelmed, adventurous, amazed, puzzled. Okay, motivated, interested, jubilant. Someone said that's great to hear. Flexible, excited. Okay, worried. We've got a few. Okay, optimistic, hungry. It's a nice word to see. Curious. Okay, so lots of words together. This is a lovely technology to use at the beginning of a lesson if you want to quickly collect people's ideas together. And I use it a lot when we teach online, particularly if we're, say, using Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. Sometimes the focus is on us. And so one of the things that we want to do a lot is to shift the focus away. And I like these super quick tools that allow us to do that. I'm just going to jump back to Answer Garden, just cut before I move on, just show you a couple of things about it. So that was lovely. One thing I can do with this, which is absolutely brilliant, is I can export that now and save it as an image. Okay, so I can keep that and then share it with my students if I want to. Okay, so you can, and then you could even upload it if you wanted to do that. But if I just come back to Answer Garden, just to sort of show you, and we're not limited to one word when you answer questions. People can write a sentence. Is that you just click on that button now. No logging in, and it's the same for students, because sometimes I get students to use this, okay, as well. I just write my question in here today. You know, what did you eat for breakfast? Okay, especially in language teaching, I might do this sort of thing right at the beginning of the lesson. Let's say that, you know, lessons in the morning time. And what couple of little things here. if you're working with young learners and you just want to moderate what they do, you can click on that button. And all the difference is that all the words appear on the screen, but you have to just click on them and say, yes, 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 happy with that. And then the words actually appear for the students as well. And you can make it longer, so if you want up to 40 characters as well. And then you literally just click on that button, okay? And then it's created, then you share the link. Now, the nice thing about this particular link on Answer Garden is that it's really, really kind of small. So it's quite easy for students to log in even on their on their telephones, on their smartphones, and answer that way. But I use it a lot just to change the focus of the class, okay? It's called Answer Garden. But that was lovely, the activity you've done, and to see all those brilliant words appearing on the screen, and particularly the fact that a lot of you were kind of quite positive about that. So that was a lovely start, okay? Lots of those kind of tools around, and that's one of the things I do. My YouTube channel, what happens is, you know, people ask me, okay, to, you know, basically I look at technologies, and if I think they're interesting, I try them out in my own teaching and learning. I do a lot of teacher training these days, not so much language teaching. I tend to do it, but I have been teaching since 1987. But I'll be talking more about that a bit later, okay? So I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation just to tell you what I'm going to talk about today, and hopefully I'm going to get it all in time. A little bit ambitious, but we'll see. So I'm just going to jump over again. I'm going to screen share. Yes, it's free. Sorry. Yes, that tool's completely free. Just really easy. And also, guys, sorry, I should have mentioned this. I've done a special handout for you. So all the technologies I'm going to show you, I've got a video to show you exactly how they work, and I'll give you that at the end. That's what I do. I make step-by-step videos on YouTube, completely free, that show teachers how to use technologies for language teaching, and then I give them ideas about how to use them, all right? And I'll give you the handout that covers all of the technologies that we're going to talk about today. So I'm jumping back again, guys, to my screen share. I'll be doing this a lot today because of what I want to do. So here's my little presentation. I'm just going to really quickly talk through what I'm going to talk. What's popular at the moment in terms of technology? So I'm going to show you the most popular technology that I've been working with, certainly on my website, in the last year and a half. When I made a video about this particular technology, and we're going to do some activities with it in a minute, the reaction from people was incredible. I had emails galore. Russell, this is amazing. How did you find this? And it's got a particular use for us, and it's specifically for language learning. That's the first thing I'm going to do, and that's just a fun bit, really, to give you a couple of nice little technologies that you can take away. Answer Garden is the first one. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about, so I run master's degree courses. I actually teach incredibly on 3 different master's degree courses, and they're all about using technology in language teaching. And I'm going to just draw on a couple of the golden rules that I talk about. I won't be able to talk about all of them, but a couple of real basic things that I think about when I'm trying to teach online, particularly focusing on languages. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to focus on a particular way that you can think about technology and language learning, okay, that I hope you're going to find interesting, and links in really well with the ESL library, okay? So that's what I'm planning to do today. And what I'm going to do first of all, though, is I'm going to show you the technology, and we're going to do some games to make this interesting. The technology that really this year, people, when I introduced it, people, they literally went mad. They were emailing me by the, you know, I must have had 200 emails within 20 minutes, half an hour of releasing this technology. And I'm actually going to show you this technology in action because it really has proved to be very popular. It's called WordWall, and what I like about this is it's got a specific role in our teaching, okay? What we can do with this is, when you're teaching online particularly, and I know some of you still are teaching online, we need to check understanding a lot because we're not in the class with the students. So we need to do quick activities, just because it's very difficult if you can't see the students and you're not in that classroom context. Are they following me? Are they getting what I'm saying? So the great thing about WordWall is that you can make these super quick activities just to check understanding, okay? It's not the kind of more in-depth language learning type activities that you can do in ESL Library, you know, listening material and stuff like that. No, it's just these quick activities. It works really well in an online context or for homework, if you're setting a piece of homework. Now, if I was to click on just create an activity, just look at how many activity types they've got. As I said, this when I made the first video on this, and I looked, I think the video that I made on this, or one of them's already been played about 20,000 times. I had so much feedback. Russell, how did you find this? So I'm going to do a quick activity with you just to get a little bit of a feeling for it. So I'm going to click over on my activities. And what I will do on this is just going to, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to click over and do this particular one here called adverbs, okay? If I just click on stop sharing 1 minute and just quickly jump back, I just realized I just want to do one thing to make it better. I'm going to screen share that again. And I'm going to make sure that I share the audio, because if we share the audio, it's going to be better fun. Right, so here it is. So I've done this quick activity for you. And I'm just going to show you how it works, and I'm going to get you to do it. And then I'm going to show you what comes of it. So this activity, let's imagine that you're teaching online and you've presented some adverbs to students, and you just want to quickly check, are they following me? So you set an activity where they have to put the frequency of the adverbs. Now, it took me 20 seconds to make this game. I literally just wrote them out, clicked on a button, and the game is done. So this one here, for example, would be always, and then very often, and then we'd have often, and then we'd have sometimes, and then we'd have occasionally, and then we'd have rarely, and then we'd have very rarely, and then we'd have never. So you've been teaching, you share this link, the students do the activity, and immediately they get feedback whether or not they got it right or wrong. Okay, so really, really quick. And if I was just to show you 1 minute, so it gives me immediate feedback as well. So it's great in an online context. It could be for homework, could also work well for homework. But if I click here on edit content, just to show you how easy it was for me to make that. If I click there, look, all I did was just write out the words, nothing else, just wrote the words out in order, clicked on done, and the game is ready. And this is what I like about this website. And if I click on the share button, and I'm going to get you guys to just quickly do this activity. So I'm just going to click on, copy. So I'm going to stop sharing, jump back again to you guys in the chat window, exactly the same as I did before. I'm going to share the link. Can I get you to click on, no, students don't need accounts, all right? You're the only one who needs an account for this, okay? And word wall is free. I'll talk about that in a minute. It's lovely questions. It's good to see that you're following me. Let's do the activities. I'll show you a couple more, and then we'll deal with the questions, all right? So just click on that link, do the activity, and guys, when you finish, can you just write in the chat window, done, okay? And all right, so I just shared, hopefully you got the link there. I just shared it hopefully with everyone. Just click on that link, and just to tell you, while you're asking questions, all right, while you're doing the activity, all right, I've just pasted it into the window. Hang on a minute. Okay, let me just try that again. Okay, I've just put it into the window. Okay, hopefully, okay, just put it in again, just make sure. Lovely. Sorry guys, I'm not quite familiar with the way the chat's working. Sorry, I'm so used to working with Zoom and with Microsoft Teams. Anyway, click on the link, guys, and do that activity. Then we're going to do something a little bit more interesting. But while you're doing that, God, some people have already finished, but I'm going to give you a couple of moments. While you're doing that, I just want to talk in the background. If you want, you don't have to. This website, you got 5 free games. And what you can do with those games is keep editing and using them again and again. So you're not limited to making a game and then you can only use it with that level. No, you can go in and edit the same game and try it with a different level. This is very much about that quick checking. This doesn't give the full kind of, it's very much about quick grammar, vocabulary. Are they following me? That's why it's great in a lesson or great as an activity for homework, okay? And what's really nice is it gives me instant feedback. Now, the students don't need to log in. They can just play the games. You just share the link with them, okay? And the other nice thing is you get great feedback, okay? It tracks the students. Now, in this particular, when you're doing this in the way that we're going to use it, or that I'm talking about using it, you don't even really need to know who the students are. You're doing a class, you've got 20 students in the class, and you set an activity, and you're like, well, are they following me? And you can quickly do the game, check the results and see immediately, well, are they getting it or aren't they? No, there's a few people getting it wrong. Right, I'll repeat it. And if you see that everyone's getting it right, then you can obviously move on. So it's very much about that formative testing. It's very much about that quick testing. So let's just have a quick look here. So if I again just screen share, and I'll screen share the audio as well. And if I jump back, we're going to do something a bit more fun in a minute, all right? Because that was but if I go to my results now, it will instantly show me that 193 of you have done that activity, and I can click on it, and I'm presuming most people are going to get it right, but it will actually give me a breakdown of the marks, etc., for that particular activity. Okay, so I mean, just because you were rushing, probably a few of you did it incorrectly, but no, yeah, but you can see how helpful it is. I could even sort of look and say, right, okay, there's a few people who got that one incorrect, and I have to go through it again. So it gives me immediate feedback. Are the students doing, are they following me? Are they following what I'm doing? Are they following the lesson? So it's a lovely technology to use in class. Now, I thought I'd do something a little bit more interesting, because I know you're all language teachers, and that's also what I specialize in. The thing for me at the moment is that I'm actually involved a lot in my own language learning, and I'll be talking about that. But I'm going to do something a little bit more fun with you. So I'm going to click over to Google Earth. And in Google Earth, and this is something I use a lot in language teaching, I'm going to click over on this button here, and I'm going to take you all off to see my favorite football stadium. It's in London. My favorite football team is called Chelsea. So we're going to just zoom off to Stamford Bridge. So we're going to fly off there. Okay. And I love using Google Earth to bring things to life. I'm going to do a little presentation with you, okay? And I want you to listen, and I'm going to then do a game to see if you've been listening to me, okay? So this is Stamford Bridge, Chelsea football ground, and Stamford Bridge holds about 42,000. It's the home of Chelsea. Chelsea Football Ground, or Chelsea Football Club, was created or founded, as they say, in the year 1905. Chelsea are actually the current European champions. And I first went to Chelsea when I was just 7 years old, in 1972. I'm presuming before many of you were born. 1972, I went to Stamford Bridge. My dad and my brother took me. I didn't see any of the game. It was too crowded, the stadium. But that moment, I fell in love with Chelsea. I only must have seen about 10 seconds of the game. Now, if I just go into 2D view, here you can see from the top, just to sort of point out, this is the stadium, and there's a football museum here. Chelsea have their own museum. Then they have 2 hotels here as well, okay? And if I just move out, so you can just have a little look, you'll see that actually Chelsea's quite near to the River Thames, okay? So it's in London. And funny enough, Chelsea's actually in Fulham. It's not in Chelsea. This is the area, Chelsea, a very rich part of London. But actually, when they created this team, there was already a football team called Fulham. So they couldn't call themselves Fulham. They had to call themselves Chelsea. That's why they're called Chelsea. Now, I'm just going to go back into 3D view, and I'm going to come in a bit nearer again to the stadium so it can really come up close. Okay, so this is, here we go. We're right in. I'm just going to come move around a little bit here. As I said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my little man onto the screen. I don't know if you guys use Google Earth. I use this a lot in my teaching. If I want to bring something to life, then, you know, if we, in the book that I'm using, or in, you know, I don't know, we've gone off to Thailand, or we've gone off to Canada, or we've gone off to, you know, Niagara Falls, or we're in New York, or wherever. I've used it to show people where I was born or where I went on holiday. If I just get this little man and drop it down onto the screen, and I get my students to do presentations as well, it actually brings me down to the stadium level. And this is where me and my brother go in. So we come in through here, and then we walk down, and we go to the stadium, because we're season ticket holders. We have a ticket for every single game, okay? And so there we are. You get a little bit of a view of Stamford Bridge, what it looks like actually on the ground level. Now, I'm going to see whether or not you were listening to me. I've actually made a Wordle activity. And what I want you to, you know, what I'm sort of suggesting here is just, this could be, for example, the homework. I could have done the presentation in the lesson, or I could have even got the students to do a presentation. That's something to really think about. I've done a lot of work with that. But then I've got a little activity for you here, and we're going to just see how carefully you were listening to what I was saying. So I've got an activity here. Let me just call, there it is. It's called All About Chelsea. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click on the share button, set the assignment, click on start. I'm going to copy that. Okay, so just copy that link. I'm going to click on stop share. I'm going to come back to you guys. Okay, and then I'm going to paste that link in. And I'm hoping that when I do that, it will appear for everybody. Just click on that link and do the activity. And I'm going to be interested to see whether or not you're listening to me. So hopefully, if you are, you're going to be able to answer that. Okay, and again, while you're playing that game, I'm just going to talk in the background. Okay. Okay, just you know, what I love about Google Earth is it's a lovely technology for you to bring the book together, you know, to link to the book. Often in the book, you know, one unit you're off to Egypt, and then another unit you're in, you know, you're in China or whatever. Not everywhere is on Google Earth, but there's lots of places that you can bring to life. So I love to use it in the classroom. I use it in Zoom a lot, okay, even in a Zoom session. But also I get my students to use it, okay? Okay, also, yeah, okay, also, hopefully you've all got that link. Is that right? I've just been sharing the link with everyone. Let me just make sure everyone's getting the link. I've just got the impression. Yeah, okay. If you can write in the window "done" when you finish. Thank you very much. Okay. So, you know, think about this as an activity. Think about this tool, Wordwall. It's a really interesting tool. And think about you making better use of Google Earth, okay? Really lots of fun. Link the two together. And, you know, I sometimes get my students to do presentations. In fact, what I did, I was kind of very lucky. Everyone had a good internet connection. I was working at university teaching, was that I got my students into breakout rooms, and I got them to do presentations using Google Earth to present themselves to the rest of the group, and they just had to choose one important place and show it to the rest of the group, and it worked brilliant. Okay, just giving you a few ideas about how you can use some of these technologies. Okay, as I said, I wanted to start by showing you a couple of really popular technologies on my website, and a lot of people get back to me and say, Russell, your ideas with Google Earth, they're really, really fantastic. One little tip about all these technologies: learn to use them yourself. Make sure you know how to use them. Okay, make sure you're confident with them, and then think about, can I shift it over and get my students to do it? In theory, you could even get your students to make a word wall. Okay, yeah, okay. Word wall is definitely worth giving a try. It really is. It's that quick formative assessment. Let's have a quick look, guys, and see how you are getting on. Okay, I've got to be careful of time. I know that I know I'm like, I start gabbering away, and I've got to make sure that I get everything covered that I want to talk about today. So if I just jump back here, okay, what I can do again, okay, is come to my results. I'm going to find out now whether or not you were listening to me. So far, 168 of you have done that activity. 224 have done the last activity as well now. So obviously, I'm going to have to move on. So I'm just going to click there, and it's going to show me, wow, you were listening. Well, that's really impressive. Okay, so this would indicate to me that there's nothing that I need to go back over. Or I might quickly say to you guys, right, a couple of things. Don't forget that I did say, you know, Chelsea's in London. It's near to the River Thames. Yes, the ground's called Stamford Bridge. And if you remember, I did say that the stadium's got 2 hotels next to the stadium, and it's near to the River Thames. Okay, just to quickly go over. It doesn't matter if it's anonymous. I don't really need to know your names. It really is about, are the class following me? And that's the reason that I would use something like Wordwall. Okay, so we've looked at Wordwall, we've looked at Google Earth, we looked at 2 technologies that have been proving really popular on my YouTube channel, and lots of people got back to me. Okay, so we're going to move on to part 2. I'm going to jump back again 1 minute. I'm just come back onto the good here. Okay, I hope that was a good start. I want to get your thinking on a little bit now in terms of kind of what I'm going to sort of just give you, and I will come back and do some more stuff at the end if we get time. All right, I mean, that's really what I do. As I said, you know, I just work with these different technologies and I test them out and use them. I do them in teaching, you know, in my even get some of my students to because my students are teachers now, so we often do tests with material. I find something, I get it to the teachers to use it, try it out, and then give feedback to me. I just want to kind of, what I'm going to do now is just give you a few things to think about. And these are things, you know, the people that do my courses, particularly the master's degree course, they're quite qualified teachers, so they've got lots of experience. And I'm just trying to give them a little bit of a view when a couple of golden rules when thinking about the use of technology in language teaching. Okay, so I'm just going to jump over again and just click on to do another screen share and jump back to the presentation for a little minute. So I'm just going to click onto that, and I'll come back into the slide mode so that we can kind of see it nicely. All right, so a few things to think about when you're teaching in blended and online. Okay, and I just want to, yeah, one of the hardest things, and I think that I was listening to Ben before, and he was certainly talking about this in terms of the planning and organizing, is linking a lesson together. And what I mean by that, how do you link the content on a platform, so a platform like ESL Library, okay, the content on the platform that you might want to use either for homework or even in the lesson, and how do you link that to a live lesson? How do you link it all together? Now, when I first started teaching, as I said, I first started teaching on the island of Crete in Greece in 1987. And, you know, at the time I was using a book, Streamlined Departures was the book I was using in those days. And, you know, the homework was often an afterthought. And also the homework was very limited. I could get them to do exercises, maybe to do a reading, if I was lucky that they were reading a book as well. But, you know, I couldn't get them to go and watch a video for homework, or I couldn't get them to listen to an audio or go off into YouTube or even collaborate together. These days, we can make our homework a much more interesting component of the course, particularly with the use of platforms like ESL Library. And this is the really important thing, is when you're planning a lesson, and this is really true for me. When I was planning in those days, I planned the class and the homework was an afterthought. Now when I plan, I'm planning a whole session. I'm thinking about what might come even before the lesson that I want the students to do before they even come into my class. What am I going to do during the session, and then what am I going to do for homework? And I'm planning it as one thing. Okay. Now, a little while ago, I was asked to go in and do some consultancy work at King's College University, and you know, that was quite a crowd of quite qualified teachers, a lot of them in teaching as long as I have, but maybe not quite had the same experience in terms of the use of technology. And this was one thing that really opened up their eyes. And I'm going to show you just in one of my teacher training course what that might look like in my case. Okay. So this linking thing, now one thing that I like to do, and I'm just going to jump out of that presentation and jump back over because I've got this on here just to quickly show you. One thing that I like to do, and this is one of my courses, remember, I'm not teaching languages at the moment. I actually stopped teaching languages 4 years ago. And now I'm only just doing pure teacher training, okay? But it's always teacher training language teachers. No, this is what I do. I always get my students to do an activity before the lesson. Now, I call this pre-lecture task. And what I'm always doing is whatever that little task is, and it's often something very small, I link it into the lesson. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. Here, I asked my students to go onto a forum and just to introduce themselves to the class because it was day one. What did I do in the Zoom session? In the Zoom session, I got them to open up that forum. In the Zoom session, I open up the forum, and then in breakout rooms to choose 5 interesting facts about some of their classmates. So I linked the homework into the lesson. I didn't do what a lot of teachers sometimes do, is at the beginning of the lesson say, right, okay, let's check the homework. No, I used the homework as the stepping board for the activity that they were going to do in class. And it meant that in the lesson, I get them straight into Zoom, into breakout rooms and say to them, okay, guys, in breakout rooms, look at the forum that you did this week, and I want you to choose 5 interesting, look at it together, discuss it, and choose 5 interesting facts about your friends. Now, interestingly enough, look what I did in week 2. At the end of the lesson 1, I did a quick introduction of using Google Earth, and that's what their homework was week 2, was to prepare a presentation in Google Earth. So what did I do in the actual lesson? As soon as they come into the lesson, I put them into breakout rooms and said, right, one person screen share and present wherever it is on Google Earth that you've got prepared. And that, I have to say, it works really well. I had one problem with one group who had a slow internet connection, and that can be a problem with Google Earth. So you might not be able to do that second part, okay, if your students haven't got good internet connections, but that worked really well. And I had students, you know, in their little breakout rooms, showing people the gym they went to or the cafe that they like to go and visit in their local town. Someone was showing where they were born, etc., etc. And if we go on every single lesson, I'm doing like that. Okay, sometimes it's just watch a video and discuss some things, but that's the springboard for the lesson. So as soon as they come into the class in the Zoom session, it's right, get into groups in breakout rooms, and I'm going to I'm going to ask you to discuss what we watched in the video, and I might give them some questions, and I'll tell you some brilliant news if you're using Zoom in a minute. You might not know. I'll just give you one more example here. This was a really nice one. I got them to do a survey. That was their homework, little activity. And then what did I do in the lesson? I immediately put them into breakout rooms, said, open up the survey, look at the results, and choose 5 interesting things about what you've learned from the survey. The survey, I think, if I remember rightly, it was help me to help me understand how to course. Yeah, it was just to get some information about what they were doing and what they were studying, etc. So this is something that I do a lot. Okay, so it's almost like a flipped classroom, this idea. And this works really well, obviously, in class, the same idea, or for homework. So if we come back here, what I'm really saying is that I kind of use the homework as the diving board for the lesson. That's the way I often think about it. They do a little bit of homework, and it's actually not a lot. And then that links into the class. Now, the ESL Library could work really well for that, because the other great thing about the ESL Library is, of course, that you can check whether they've done the homework. But this kind of idea that we kind of give them an activity to do before the lesson, it's like a flipped classroom. I really like that way of working, and it builds that link between the homework and the lesson. Now, sometimes when I'm doing that, I'm even linking it 3 ways. I might have a pre-class activity, then the class, and then the after class as well. So it's almost like, so when I look at the way I plan now, it's very different to the way I planned back in 1987. Now, this is really interesting. When I did this, because I went into King's College and they said, well, we want you to train the department, but also run a course for us. And so I started running this course. And one of the things that the teacher said when I presented my course to them, said, Russell, but the students won't do it. And I said, well, I never even mentioned to the students that anything was different, that we were flipping our classes. I just simply said, every week I said, right, there's a bit of homework for you to do before unit 1 and a bit of homework for you to do before, and very quickly the students got into the hang of it. I never mentioned it was a flipped classroom. I never made it out that it was particularly any different from my normal classes. Simply, I was giving them a small activity, and the reason for that was that I wanted to make sure that when they went into the lesson, we could dive straight into activities. So I was taking some of the teaching out of the lesson by getting the students to do a pre-task that would kind of be, as I said, the diving board. And it was really working, and I was getting better and better at doing it on this particular course as well, that I was finding, yeah, I'm not doing so much teaching. I'm getting the students have done some work before the lesson. Not too much, very small. They were small pieces of work. They might have just taken 10 minutes, but that was then meant that when they come into the class, bang, I could get them to work in groups and do activities together. Now, one other thing that you might not know, guys, and just to really quickly say this before I move on to the next part of my talk, is that Zoom, if you're a user of Zoom, have now updated and you can screen share into breakout rooms. So in other words, you can be in the main room, put the students into breakout rooms, and then screen share the questions that you want them to discuss. I don't know if you realize that you can do that. You now can do that, okay? And just really quickly, just to let you know, in case that is something you didn't know about, and is that on my websites, if you go to my website, teachertrainingvideos.com, the latest video on the front is showing you Zoom 2021, how to screen share, all right? I'll show you that link in case you want to watch that video, okay? So obviously, it's all free. They're all videos from YouTube. But you can now screen share into breakout rooms. I'm going to stop sharing, guys. Come back. I'm going to paste that into the window. So if you don't know, now I'm imagining that if Zoom would do it, Microsoft Teams would do it very quickly as well, all right? I've just shared that link with you. Hopefully that's coming here. That's my website if you want to make use of it, okay? But particularly that video on the front page, the Zoom one. I think it's already been played about 3,000 times in the space of 4 or 5 days, because people are very interested in that. And in that video, I actually test it. I test using the interactive whiteboard. I test playing a video. I test, and you can screen share into breakout rooms. Okay. Right. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Lovely. So good. All right. So those are that's something I really want to think about. And just before I move on to the last part, I just want to talk about, all right. Just want to talk about, how important it is to link that linking of the content together is just absolutely crucial. But one thing you don't want to do, and this is what teachers tend to do a lot with the flipped classroom as well, is that they'll set homework for the students to do, and they know it's linked into the lesson, but then when they come into the lesson, they check the homework. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what the students do for homework is the springboard for the next activity in the lesson. So there's a real flow, and that is tricky. And I'm going to admit to you, I'm not saying that I'm an expert and I always get it right, but that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to link those two things together. All right. I'm trying to always make sure that the beginning of the lesson, the homework, as I said, don't tell them, well, we're flipping our classes. There's no need to. Just say, look, there's a small activity for you to do. Persevere. First couple of weeks, they might not all do the homework. All right. But they'll soon get into it. I never really had any trouble with those students from King's College. And apparently they'd never done anything like that before. So it's just a way to think about it. All right. So if we get time at the end of the day, I'm going to show you another great technology. Let's see how we do with time. I've given you a couple of nice ideas. I've given you a little bit of theory, and now I want to talk about technology and language teaching. And this is really going to be interesting from my point of view as a language learner. Now, I was one of these people that was a disaster at learning languages when I was younger, but I chose to become a language teacher because I wanted to travel or wasn't, and then I got really interested in language learning, and I learned to speak Spanish, and I learned to speak French, and now I'm learning Polish. And I've also tried to study another couple of languages because I spent some time in Greece, but I failed there. One day I'm going to go back and hopefully study that language again. But what the interesting for me is that I'm continually learning languages all the time. I'm learning Polish at the moment, which is really interesting because it's really difficult. And I just want to talk you through an experience that I've had that really linked into what I already knew. Okay, and I think you might find this quite useful. And I know we've still got about 15-20 minutes left, so we should be all right. So I'm just going to jump back, and I'm going to jump into my PowerPoint presentation again. Okay, again they'll be doing a bit more interactive stuff in a minute, but I just want to something I think about when I'm kind of teaching, when I'm thinking about the use of technology. Okay, if you think about technology, right, there are three places that we use it as in language learning. In the classroom with our students. So and I'm not a big fan of technology in the class so much, to be honest with you. Obviously, if we're doing fully online, we've got no choice. But in a class, if I'm in the class with my students, I still like pair work and group work and printing out worksheets and getting them to do that, like the ones you've got in the ESL Library, for example. I know that you don't have to do a digital copy. You can just use I'm a big fan really of the classroom, the teacher, and lots of group work and pair work. But I love using technology for homework. I think it really can extend the homework a lot. But there's another way that we can use technology, and that's what students use independently. There are students that will play computer games in English, or they will watch YouTube videos in English, or they might follow their favorite football team like me in English, or they might listen to podcasts in English, or listen to audiobooks in English. And there's more options now for independent study than ever before. Now, it's really interesting. When we think in language terms, what we're actually talking about here is three things. In class, and then homework, we actually refer to that as extracurricular. And then extramural are these activities that students do on their own. Okay, in other words, nothing to do with the teacher. The teacher hasn't asked them to do them, that they simply are doing extramural activities. And we know generally, obviously, simply blatantly obvious because of internet and technology, that there's many more opportunities for extramural activities than ever before. Now, this is true. I have 60-odd thousand teachers following me on YouTube and about 20,000 on my newsletters. And I didn't tell them why. I just did a questionnaire with teachers and asked them, think about how you learn to speak the language that you teach, because most of my teachers are non-native teachers of English or other languages. And I said, did you learn the language in class? Did you learn the language through the homework? Or did you really learn the language on your own? 85% of the teachers said, I learned to speak my second language through what I did independently. In reality, that's how we learn a language. That's how particularly we get to be very good in a language, is the extramural activities that we do, not because of the teacher, not because of the homework. Now, I'm not saying that teachers aren't useful. They're really useful, and I love being in the classroom, and I love being in the classroom in Polish. But ultimately, it's the extramural activities that we do. That is really what's going to impact on the student, because in most cases, we only teach our students 2 or 3 hours a week. So I only have 2 hours a week of Polish classes. It's really down to me and all the extra work that I do that really helps me to learn a language. Now, this really dawned on me a little while ago, because I went to Poland and I did a course, and it was really interesting on this course because we were using a platform. So just like ESL Library, really, that kind of thing, okay, where there's lots of content and a whole variety of different activities, listening material, grammar, flashcards, etc. And it was based around a book that I was using, okay, but there was a platform, and the teacher, what we were doing in those lessons with the teacher was that actually in class he never used any technology at all, but there was lots of homework set on the platform, okay. And then what I started to realize is, well, hang on a minute, I could use this platform on my own. And what I realized was happening was that because the teacher was really helping me to make the really good use of the platform, and I understood how it works and all the different features on it, I started using it for my extramural activities. And this is the point I'm trying to make. One of our visions that we should have when we're working with technology is to always be thinking through the technology that we introduce the students to, and platforms is one really good way of doing it. Can we give the students more and more opportunities to do extramural activities? If we direct them in such a way in terms of the technology that we introduce and the activities that we do, that we open up the world of extramural activities to our students, then we're really doing them a good service, okay? And my teacher, I spoke to my teacher about why was he using this platform, and he was saying, well, everything's in one place, which is so true. He doesn't have to make the content. In fact, it was 2 teachers that both were using it, so it was a he and a she actually. They can check whether the students have done the homework, and that students can work on their own. So it's obvious, it's a really good way, you know. And what we did on that course in Polish was that we were actually introduced to the platform in the school. And we were taking on a training course that really facilitated the homework. And then that allowed me, and I'm still doing it now, to use that platform to study on my own. And that's really interesting, because that is ultimately what we want to do. We're really talking here about learner autonomy. Now, if I just click on, one of the things I'm trying to say here, and I think there are two key things that come out of this, okay? It's about 2 things. It's about learner training. Now, it's not only about the platform. ESL Library would definitely be the sort of place that if I was teaching with it, I would really be introducing that to my students and making it clear how it's used, using it a lot for homework, and hoping that that would open up the opportunity for them to do self-study. So I might, for example, set 3 assignments that I want them to do, and then some additional ones that they can do if they want to. So that's definitely one thing, is to think about the platform that you're working with and introducing it to your students and making really good use of it, because it can lead to extramural. And I'm going to give you another thing. Sometimes it's just about learner training and training the students so that, again, you're opening up this world of extramural. And I'm going to just take you through a really simple example of the sort of thing I mean. I'm really hoping that you might not be aware of this. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks now. So I'm going to jump over again to do some screen share, and I'm going to jump onto YouTube, and I'm going to try and demonstrate this, and I'll do this by doing a little search. This is the sort of thing that I would be training my teachers, my students, to do, okay, because I want them to build up the ability to work on their own and do extramural activities. So let's say that I get them to go on to, I want to introduce them to YouTube. I'm going to say to them, okay, I'm going to show you some things that you can do in YouTube that you might not be aware of. So let's say we're going to look for shopping in English, okay? Great. And we're going to probably get loads of things come up. Now, but what I'll say to my students is, look, I'm just going to show you a couple of things that you can do. You can click here, and you can actually look for shopping in English with subtitles. So if you need the subtitles, then now you've got the subtitles along with the shopping in English. And if you want, you can even click here and maybe choose only videos that are less than 4 minutes. So if you're low level, then if you're higher level, maybe you do 4 to 20, etc. Okay, so I teach my students how to search for content on YouTube. Now let's take this video. But then what I would do, and if I let me just bring, so I've got this video up on the screen now. Let me just come into default view for this just to make this really clear. But I would take it even further. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to my students, well, do you realize that you can do this? You can click here and open up the transcript. So you've now got the transcript on the right hand side. And now I'm going to say to them, well, do you realize that you can actually turn the timestamps off? So you can turn off the timestamps. And now if you want to play a certain part of the video, just click on that part and it will jump immediately to that part of the video. So what I'm trying to do is give students the skills that will allow them to study extramurally. Now I'll take it even further. I would say to them, well, look, you can even slow the speed of the video down. And I do this in Polish all the time. And then I can just copy that. Now, I could even take this further than this. Look at this. I'm going to now say to them, well, look, you could, if you want, if you find the sentence that you're not quite sure what it means, and you copy on it. And if we jump over to Google Translate, and again, I do this all the time, is that I'll paste in. Normally, I'm working in Polish, of course, all right? So I'm not working from Polish to English, but for this one, let's do it from English to, I can actually get the translation. So if I'm a bit worried about that sentence and I don't quite understand it, I can get the translation of it. Now, I know Google Translate is not perfect, but it's pretty good for the high frequency languages and even Polish. My wife has, I've been studying Polish for more than 2 years and it's pretty good. In terms of helping me, it's been incredible. Now, what I can then do is I can click on this button here and now that is added into my favorites. And if I want to see my favorites, then I've got them all here listed out. Okay, so I was playing around with it today and doing a couple in Spanish because I knew I was going to be presenting this to you. And then even once I've got my favorites there, okay, is that I can then sort of click and listen to them. So let's say I was studying Spanish, or let's just imagine it's a Spanish student studying English. So they can click and hear the sentence. Okay, so you got the whole, it doesn't have to be the whole sentence, it can just be the word. Okay, so I'll do this a lot. I'll train my students to have these skills. I'm going to show you one more amazing trick that you can do here, all right? Okay, because I know it's going to give them ability to work extramurally, to do activities on their own, to become more independent learners. Did you realize that you can do this? For example, you've got all these sentences. I'm going to click here on add to Google Sheets. Okay, really quick. I'm going to do this just for time. Okay, so then I'm going to import them. And all I need to do now is, obviously I'd have many more. I'd normally have about 10 sentences. I can just grab these sentences. Okay, so I'm just going to click on them. So we've got them in English to Spanish in this case, okay? So I'm going to copy those. And if I go over to Quizlet, which is like a kind of study tool that lots of teachers use, I don't know if you realize this, but you can actually just create now. Click on create a study set. And we're going to call this one New Set ESL Library. And I can actually just paste those sentences straight in. So obviously, normally I wouldn't have 4. Normally I'd have many more. And then just click on import and then I've created them. Okay. And this is how I make all my Polish sets. So just to show you what I mean, if I just click back a minute, I'm going to leave that page just to show you. If I click on Quizlet and you see my library, you'll see these sets of cards that I've made. And I make them in just one instant. So for example, on the 13th of September, I made this set of cards and I've got all of the sentences, okay, in Polish, and then I can flick over and in English, and then I can move on to the next one. And then again, I've got over in English, okay? So brilliant for me in terms of I can listen, repeat the sentences, and that power to know. And these sentences all originally come from YouTube videos. So that was the journey, how I got them onto here. And then often what I'll do is study the vocabulary, and then I'll go back and listen to the YouTube video again. So that kind of whole process of building up, 2 things I'm really recommending to you. One, learn whatever platform you're using. If you're using the ESL platform, great. Make sure that your students are really familiar with it. Make sure you've introduced it. Make sure that you've really got it clear to them. Look, this is a resource that you can use. So that's one key thing. And the other key thing is, you're going to hear this word a lot now. Lots of governments are talking about it. We're talking about it's called digital competencies. Okay. For example, I've been doing a little bit of work with the Spanish government, and they're actually going to have an educational reform where they're going to refer to these digital competencies. Okay. And these digital competencies will allow students to be able to study more effectively and, in fact, engage in society generally more effectively. And so this is why I was kind of quite keen when the ESL Library asked me to do the talk, because I thought, yeah, this really fits with my feelings about what I would do if I was in the classroom with a group of students. Remember, I'm not teaching languages anymore. I did do a test group this summer, though, because I needed to test out lots of materials. I just had 6 students in the class, and I did all this kind of stuff with them. I trained them so that they could learn and study more on their own. Okay, I hope that was useful. I hope we got time for questions. I've just got one thing to add onto the screen, and that's I've got a handout for you guys where I got a video that shows you how to use Wordwall, and a video that shows you how to use Google Earth, and a video that shows you how to use Answer Garden. And there's a couple of other things as well. And all you need to do is just email me. It's all automated. Just russellhandout@gmail.com. As the subject, let's put ESL Library, since they are the ones that are running this presentation today, or running the whole conference today, and obviously invited me to come along. And then just write who you are. Just say, hi, I am blah, 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 from blah, blah, blah. Automatically, there's no tricks, there's no money or anything like that. It's just a simple handout with videos that show you in detail how to use Wordwall, how to use Answer Garden, how to use Google Earth, and a couple of other things as well. Okay, and I hope that was useful for you today. I normally do a much more active session, but I did want to kind of talk a little bit about today about kind of the theory that sits behind the teaching as well. It's not all about just showing everyone loads of games, but I'm hoping that that was useful to you. Is there any questions that we're going to anyone want to ask me? I don't know if have we got any questions that have come up on the Q&A.
We do have quite a few questions. I can share one or two.
That'd be lovely. Yeah, first lovely question. That first one, Tammy. So, can you show these activities and be? Yes. I mean, it will be exactly the same. So, I mean, you can because when you're working with Google Classroom, you can share links. I mean, this could be in the Google Live session as well. So it could be in when you're using Google Meet, but also in Google Classroom. Absolutely fine. Okay. So just share the links to the activities, to the Wordwall, share the links to any of these activities. So absolutely, yeah. So Google Classroom, which is a lovely tool. Okay. Absolutely fine. No problem. No excuse that I'm very busy as a constant excuse to the homework. Yeah. No, you're really fair, Christopher. And I do realize that. All I can say, because it's a really fair point, Christopher, is start small, really small little activities. Okay. If I had more time, I could tell you so much more about the research into this link. There's a lot of, but start small. Just give them little activities. Say, look, guys, do this and persevere with it. Make sure that they realize that this is what they have to do before the lesson. If you believe that something's going to help your students, sometimes you just have to push it through. If I had more time with you, I had to tell you some horror stories about me getting my students to record themselves for homework, and one student did it. But then I did it again and again because I knew that doing that was a great idea, and slowly I got them on board. And this is what I said about Kings. I didn't even mention it to them. 50 odd new students in my course. Guys, here's this week's homework. Make sure you do it before the lesson. No, they all didn't do it. Of course, they didn't all do it. But then, week 2, I did the same thing. Week 3, and then I noticed they were all getting on board. I'm never going to claim that they all did the homework every week. They didn't, but it worked. It worked really fine. So it's a fair point, but you've got to push. You've got to push sometimes. Anything else?
Let's do one more question. This seems to be a popular one.
I mean, absolutely. So obviously with higher level students, you can get more out of them. And I think was well in a way with higher level students as well, just in terms of the extramural types of activities, you can really kind of concentrate on things like, well, how do you watch a video? So how do you, how to effectively read and take notes and transfer that into the vocabulary. The skills evolve over time, don't they? The sorts of things that you might introduce them to. So like podcasts, audio books at higher levels, whereas at lower levels, you're going to be looking at kind of, simpler activities. And I think ESL Library's got content at every level, but I think particularly at lower levels. So my level in Polish, which is kind of, I'd like to say it's 2A, but it's not. It's still 1B. But I think the platforms at the lower levels can be really, really helpful to students, okay, when they kind of need to do a lot of that number crunching and kind of controlled language. As they get better, they can kind of work more on sort of YouTube videos and find their own content. Yeah. Yeah. No mówię po polsku bardzo dobrze teraz, ale jest bardzo trudny. Ta gramatyka jest trudna. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Tammy, any more questions?
I think we can do one more.
Done.
Let's show this one on stage.
Do you think that these activities will be good for teaching one-on-one? I know a group to teaching be easy incorporating. Yeah, I do, guys. I do. It's funny. It's a lovely question. It's a really lovely question. I'll tell you why. I know this is going to sound a bit crazy, but my Polish teacher, you know, I've taught her how to teach me. She knows that I'm kind of a very experienced teacher trainer. And so she's a great teacher herself. And I sort of say, well, you know, Natalia, I could show you this. And so we do word wall activities. You know, often she will set me a video to watch for homework, and then when I come into the Zoom session, the first thing she does, bang, is get me to do a word wall. Why not? Or sometimes the other way around. But yes, definitely. Even in a one-on-one session, you wanna be able to have a bit of dynamics. Yeah, and sometimes it can be all focused on the two of you. Okay, there are lots of lovely tricks that you can use when you're teaching in a one-on-one. But I like the idea of sending them off to do an activity. It gives the teacher a break. Okay, so you've done a little presentation. Are they following you? Bang, do the word walk. Gives you a couple of minutes. You don't have to talk. You can drink your tea and rest your voice. So yes, I would definitely use those sorts of activities, even in a one-on-one lesson. Is that okay, Tammy?
That was perfect. Thank you so much for that, Russell. We really, really appreciated having you here. I see Ben is also saying thank you, Russell. It was such a great presentation. There was so much interaction. The emojis were going crazy on screen, and we're just really happy to be able to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.